poor single dad let a strange girl stay for one night, unaware she was a millionaire's daughter. Some nights, the rain comes down like it has something to say. It was a Tuesday in late September, the kind of evening that smells like wet leaves and old wood. When Marcus Reyes heard the knock at his front door, he wasn't expecting anyone. He never was, really. It had been 3 years since it was just him and his daughter, Lily, rattling around that little house on Elm Creek Road. 3 years of early mornings, peanut butter sandwiches, parent-teacher nights alone, and bedtime stories read in a voice that sometimes cracked when he thought she wasn't listening. Marcus was 34 years old, though most days he felt older. He had dark hair that curled a little when it got wet, a jawline that hadn't seen a proper shave in about a week, and the kind of build that comes not from a gym, but from years of honest, physical work, hauling lumber, lifting, carrying. He worked part-time at a hardware supply warehouse on Route 9, picking up odd repair jobs on weekends when he could. It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't easy. But it was his, and he was proud of it in that quiet, unspoken way that men like him tend to be. He opened the door. Standing on his porch, soaking wet from the driving rain, was a young woman he had never seen before in his life. She looked to be in her mid-20s, tall, with long blonde hair plastered flat against her shoulders, wearing a thin white top that the rain had made, nearly transparent, and a pair of light linen pants that were no match at all for the weather. She wasn't dressed for a storm. She looked like someone who had been somewhere else entirely just an hour ago, somewhere warm and dry and perfectly comfortable, and had ended up here by accident. Her name, she told him in a voice that was steady but careful, was Claire. She didn't say her last name. She had been driving, she said, and her car had slid off the road about a quarter mile down the hill. The old bend where the drainage was bad and the asphalt got slick as black ice in the rain. Her phone was dead. She had seen his porch light through the trees and walked toward it. Marcus stood there for a moment, one hand on the doorframe, rain misting across the threshold onto his socks. Behind him a small voice said, "Daddy, who is it?" He looked back. Lily was standing in the hallway in her pink pajamas, holding her stuffed dog to her chest, a little golden thing she'd named Biscuit, her brown eyes wide and curious. She was 6 years old and had never once in her life been afraid of a stranger. That was her mother's quality, and Marcus had stopped trying to figure out whether it was a blessing or something to worry about. He looked back at Claire. She was shivering. Not dramatically, not making a show of it. Just that small, involuntary tremor that cold and wet will pull out of a person, whether they want it to or not. "Come on in," he said. He gave her the old grey sweater that hung by the back door, the one he wore when he was doing yard work. He made coffee, the regular kind, nothing fancy, and set a mug in front of her at the kitchen table. Without asking whether she wanted it, she wrapped both hands around it and thanked him in that same careful voice. Lily had climbed onto the chair across the table and was watching Claire with the open, unfiltered attention that only small children can get away with. "Your hair's really long," Lily said. "Lily," Marcus said. "It's okay," Claire said, and she smiled, a real smile, the kind that reached her eyes. "I've been meaning to get it cut for about a year now." "I got mine cut," Lily said seriously. "Daddy took me to the place on Main Street. The lady gave me a lollipop." "That sounds like a pretty good deal," Claire said. Marcus leaned against the counter and drank his coffee and listened to his 6-year-old daughter hold a conversation with this soaking wet stranger at his kitchen table. And he felt something loosen in his chest that he hadn't realized had been tight. It had been a long time since there had been another adult voice in that kitchen. He called the county non-emergency line about the car, got a recording, left a message. The rain wasn't letting up. The roads on the hill were closed anyway. Some kind of washout further up on County Road 7. He explained this to Claire as gently as he could, watching her face for the particular kind of anxiety that comes from feeling trapped somewhere unfamiliar. But she only nodded, looked at the rain through the kitchen window and said, "I appreciate it, really. I won't be any trouble." "You're not trouble," he said. He meant it. He set her up on the pull-out couch in the living room with a clean blanket and the extra pillow from the hall closet. Lily insisted on showing her where the bathroom was, as though Claire might not be able to find it on her own, and Marcus stood in the hallway and watched his daughter lead this young woman by the hand down the short corridor, explaining everything and the light switch that sticks, the faucet that runs cold for a moment before it gets warm, the small painted sign on the wall that said, "Home is where the heart is," that Lily had made at school 2 years ago and that Marcus had hung there because she'd asked him to. And he could never say no to things like that. He stood there for a moment after Lily had gone to bed, the house quiet except for the rain, and thought about what a strange thing an ordinary night could become. In the morning, the rain had stopped. The world outside smelled clean and cold and new. Marcus made eggs, scrambled, because that was what Lily liked. And Claire sat at the table again, this time in dry clothes, her hair pulled back, looking like a different person than the woman who had knocked on his door the night before, rested, composed, still, careful with her words, but warmer now. She ate with them. She helped Lily count the buttons on her jacket. She washed her own dish without being asked. When the tow truck finally came and they walked down the hill together to where her car had gone off the road, Marcus saw it for the first time. A late-model silver Mercedes, the kind that cost more than he made in 2 years. He kept his face neutral. He'd learned a long time ago not to measure people by what they drove. Claire shook his hand at the bottom of the hill. Lily had walked down with them, holding her stuffed dog, and she gave Claire a hug around the knees the way she did with people she had decided she liked. Quick and certain. Claire crouched down to Lily's level and looked at her seriously. "You take care of your dad," she said. "I do," Lily said. "He cries at movies sometimes." "Lily," Marcus said. Claire laughed. A full, warm laugh this time, nothing careful about it. She drove away. 2 weeks later, Marcus got a call from the warehouse manager. Someone had made a sizable, anonymous donation to the Community Emergency Fund, the one that helped families in the county who'd hit hard times. The manager told him he'd been selected for a support package. 6 months of supplemental income, enough to breathe, enough to catch up on what had slipped behind. He never knew for certain. He couldn't prove it. But he thought about that silver Mercedes. He thought about the way Claire had looked at that kitchen, at the worn countertops, the child's drawing on the fridge, the single coffee mug rinsed and left to dry by the sink, and the way her eyes had gone soft and stayed that way. He thought about what it means to let a stranger in from the rain, not because you expect anything, not because you know who they are or where they come from, but because the rain is coming down hard, and they're standing there shivering, and you have a warm kitchen and a mug of coffee and a little girl with no fear of strangers. Sometimes the kindness you give out into the world finds its way back to you. Not always, not on schedule, not in the shape you'd expect, but sometimes it does. Marcus kept that grey sweater by the back door for a long time after that, just in case. If this story stayed with you, if it reminded you of someone or something, or some quiet moment from your own life, we'd love to hear about it. Leave a comment below and tell us what it brought to mind. And if you'd like to hear more stories like this one, please like, share, and subscribe. It means more than you know.